There's a cleverness in you that once felt like your strength. You learned early how to see patterns, connect logic, and use your mind to navigate uncertainty. It gave you safety. It helped you understand things when others seemed lost. But somewhere along the way, that sharp intellect became both a sword and a shield, cutting through the truth and defending illusion at the same time, in the same breath. The mind's need to know can be intoxicating. It wants to explain everything, to define, to categorize, to feel control over the mystery of existence. And yet, this craving to know blocks the deeper knowing that only comes through silence. Intellect builds beautiful structures of understanding, but they are made of sand. In one strong wave of truth, and they collapse. When you find yourself over-explaining, debating, needing to be right, pause. Notice the tightness in your chest. Notice the subtle anxiety beneath your words. This is the shadow of intellect. Using knowledge as armor. It makes you sound confident, but inside you feel small, uncertain, disconnected from the pulse of life itself. The mind wants clarity, but it fears emptiness. So it fills the void with concepts, theories, beliefs, and arguments. It fears not being needed. But you are not here to impress the world with your cleverness. You are here to become so clear that truth shines through you without distortion. The shadow of intellect often masquerades as intelligence, yet it can also isolate you. You may feel misunderstood, too mental, too heady, as though people cannot keep up. But beneath that lies the deeper truth. You fear that if you stop explaining, you'll disappear. That if you stop knowing, you'll be nothing. And that is exactly what liberation requires. To release this shadow is not to reject your intellect, but to humble it before the mystery. You must learn to let words fall short, to let silence speak louder than logic. You must let life become the teacher again. There is great tenderness in admitting you do not know. It cracks the shell of arrogance that intellect hides behind. It brings you back to innocence, to the child who simply stares in wonder at a flower, a flame, a face. The mind cannot measure that. It can only surrender to it. The shadow of intellect whispers, if I can explain it, I can control it. But the truth is softer. When you stop explaining, life begins to reveal itself. You will never think your way to enlightenment. You can only feel your way there. The moment you surrender your need to define, you create space for grace to move through you. So when your mind spins in circles, when your cleverness turns against you, remember, you don't need to have the last word. You don't need to be the smartest one in the room. You don't even need to understand. You just need to be present, because presence is the real intelligence. And when intellect softens, it transforms into something finer, the gift of precision. No longer frantic or defensive, the mind becomes a clear mirror. It stops projecting and starts perceiving. This is the moment your thoughts align with truth instead of trying to outsmart it. Precision is not about being perfect. It is about being exact in your awareness. It is the quiet power of discernment, seeing what is without distortion. Your words become medicine. Your attention becomes sacred. You begin to sense the subtle difference between knowledge that inflates the ego and wisdom that frees the soul. You start to speak less, but each word carries weight. You begin to listen between the lines. You realize that language, when used consciously, can open hearts or close them. So you choose your tone, your timing, your phrasing with care. Your intellect no longer needs to dominate. It serves. Precision invites integrity into communication. It teaches you that truth doesn't need decoration. It only needs clarity. You become the kind of person who doesn't just say what's true, you embody it. And that embodiment gives your words authority. This gift also reshapes how you see others. Instead of analyzing them, you perceive their essence. You sense where they are speaking from: fear, hope, love, defense, and you meet them there. Your mind becomes an instrument tuned to the frequency of compassion. When you're in this state, your intellect becomes luminous. You can solve complex problems without losing your softness. You can articulate ideas that awaken others rather than intimidate them. You can translate the ineffable into something human. But precision requires humility. It asks you to speak from alignment, not ambition. To pause before responding. To sense the resonance of truth in your body before words leave your lips. It is a devotion to accuracy that extends beyond thought. It touches energy, tone, and intention. You begin to see how careless language distorts reality, how exaggeration breeds confusion, how gossip scatters power. So you reclaim your voice as sacred. You speak less, but with more love. You write less, but with more light. And you think less, but understand more. Precision is the beginning of mastery. It is when the mind and heart finally collaborate. No longer opponents, they dance. The mind observes, the heart directs, and together, they create a harmony that others can feel. When you reach this point, even silence becomes articulate. Your presence alone communicates truth. You've begun to taste the next realm, the quiet perfection of impeccability. Impeccability is not flawlessness. It is alignment. A perfect coherence between thought, word, and deed. It is the still point where all contradictions dissolve into truth. In this state, there is no separation between what you know and who you are. You are the knowing. You move with effortless precision, not because you're trying, but because you've become the current itself. Impeccability is the vibration of pure energy. Every action, every word, every silence becomes holy. You do not need to plan your truth. It flows through you. And you do not need to prove your wisdom. It radiates from your presence. In this state, intellect has been sanctified. The mind is no longer noisy or restless. It is a transparent channel for consciousness to move through. Your thoughts are clear, crystalline, and purposeful. There is no excess, no waste, no noise, only truth. To live impeccably is to live without self-contradiction. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. You hold others accountable through example, not through judgment. You do not demand perfection. You embody precision infused with love. Impeccability is not about morality. It is about resonance. When you are impeccable, your energy harmonizes with life itself. There is no resistance, no falsehood, no hiding. You become transparent to the divine. In this space, every moment becomes sacred art. Every sentence, a prayer. Every interaction, a transmission. And yet, there is no effort. You simply are. The world feels lighter here. Your words heal instead of harm. Your silence nurtures instead of intimidates. Your intellect no longer seeks to explain the mystery because it embodies it. Impeccability is truth moving as grace through form. It is the highest refinement of mind, so pure it disappears. There is no more need to interpret life. You've become the living translation. The journey From intellect to impeccability is the journey from the head to the heart. From needing to know to simply being known. From constructing meaning to embodying it. You were never meant to abandon your mind, dear one, only to sanctify it, to let it serve the stillness within you rather than the fear that drives you. Your intellect is not your enemy. It is your instrument, but only when it's tuned to the frequency of truth. Integration begins when you stop seeking words that sound right and start living words that feel right. When your speech becomes slower, clearer, kinder. When you realize that every sentence you speak creates a ripple in the field. So you choose your ripples with awareness. You begin to live with precision, not as control, but as care. You measure your tone not to sound perfect, but to ensure it carries love. You notice when intellect tries to dominate, and you gently return back to presence. This is the daily practice of impeccability, moment by moment, thought by thought. And you may falter, and that's holy too, because every misstep reveals another layer of unconsciousness asking to be seen. You don't fix it. You notice it. You breathe and you realign. And over time, you find that your words become lighter, your thoughts kinder, your mind quieter. The chatter fades, and what remains is the simple truth. You are an instrument of consciousness, tuned to love. And love has no need to prove itself through intellect. It simply speaks through you when you're ready to listen. So, dear one, let your thoughts be clear rivers, not storms. Let your speech be arrows of light, not blades of ego. Let your silence be as eloquent as your words. This is how you live impeccably. Not through effort, but through surrender. Not through control, but through clarity. Not through intellect, but through presence. You have always been far more than your mind, and your mind has never defined who you are. Do you remember? Do you? Remember now. I love you.